Hey there and welcome back. Today we're going deep on Baba Ganga Das,
Baba Ganga Das.
a Hindu sadhu.
Yeah,
And we're working with a recent interview that he did on the Hanuman Healing Hour podcast.
that's a good one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
really fascinating stuff.
Before we get into the specifics, I think it's important to just set the stage a little bit
Yeah.
about what a sadhu is.
Yeah.
Essentially, a sadhu is a monk,
Okay.
someone who dedicates their life to spiritual practice and service.
Okay.
And they renounce material possessions, they rely on alms,
Hmm.
and they live a life of deep commitment and simplicity. It's a pretty profound path.
Yeah, definitely not your average career choice.
Right,
And Baba Ganga Das's journey to becoming a sadhu was anything but typical.
right.
We're talking about someone who grew up in rural suburban America,
Yeah.
not exactly a hotbed of Hindu monasticism.
It is quite remarkable, isn't it?
Yeah.
His story. And he talks about feeling this persistent, God-sized hole in his life, even with material comforts, which is something that a lot of people can relate to, I think.
Yeah.
That sense of something missing, even when you seemingly have it all.
Absolutely. And he tried filling that void in some pretty intense ways.
He did.
Joining the Marines, an outlaw motorcycle club,
Yeah.
even street gangs after returning from Afghanistan.
Yeah, his time in Afghanistan, and particularly the combat trauma that he experienced, it seems to have been a major catalyst for him.
Right.
Seeing death firsthand really ignited those existential questions,
Yeah.
made him really grapple with the meaning of life in a much more intense way.
And it wasn't a smooth journey, though.
No, it wasn't.
He struggled. He even attempted suicide at one point.
He do.
But it was after rehab that he found solace and a renewed purpose in Hinduism.
That's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
That he describes hitting rock bottom as this turning point. The moment he truly began to open up to a different way of being. And this leads us to his encounter with Neem Karoli Baba, who is this revered Hindu guru. And this experience was really mystical, and it solidified his faith and set him on his spiritual path.
This is where it gets really interesting. He talks about having this incredibly vivid vision during a yoga retreat,
Yeah.
a journey through space and time,
Wow.
where he encountered a tall white man with dreadlocks playing a guitar at a rundown temple.
Really?
That was pretty wild, right?
It does.
Yeah?
But here's the thing. He later found images of that very temple online.
No way.
A temple that was under construction at the time of his vision.
So this wasn't just a dream.
It was a confirmation that what he experienced was real.
Wow, talk about a sign.
Yeah.
And so this experience led him to his first Hindu teacher, Bhagavan Das, who gave him the name Ganga Das.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
And it was this connection that helped him understand the core principles of a sadhu's life.
Yeah.
So it's about sadhana,
Okay.
which refers to the spiritual practices.
Okay.
Moksha, the ultimate goal of liberation.
Right.
And seva, which is service to others.
He spoke about recognizing God in everyone who assists him,
Yes.
relying on alms and seeing the divine in every interaction. It's a beautiful perspective, right?
Absolutely. It's
Yeah.
about cultivating gratitude, recognizing that interconnectedness of all things,
Yeah.
and having that deep trust that you can surrender to the universe and it will provide for your needs.
Right.
He actually compared this surrender to his experience in combat.
That's an interesting connection. How so?
Well, think about it. In combat, you have to relinquish control.
Okay.
Trust your superiors and accept that the situation is larger than yourself.
Right.
Similarly, in a sadhu's life, you surrender to a higher power,
Okay.
dedicating your time to the needs of others
Right.
rather than your own desires.
Yeah. So it's like stepping outside of your ego and embracing a life of service.
Exactly.
Speaking of which, how does Baba Ganga Das guide others without imposing his beliefs?
Well, he does it by creating a safe space
Okay.
for people to find their own answers through self-reflection. He emphasizes active listening, allowing people to circle around their own words
Right.
until they arrive at their own truth.
So it's not about giving advice, but rather facilitating self-discovery.
Yes.
That's interesting. And he also mentioned that not everyone is ready for complex spiritual concepts.
Right.
And respecting where people are on their individual journeys is crucial.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's recognizing where someone is on their path and meeting them there.
Right.
Sometimes just being heard is enough to spark an inner transformation.
Yeah.
Not everyone needs a grand philosophical explanation.
Right.
Right.
So Baba Ganga Das also shared some insightful thoughts on fear and attachment. Something I think we all grapple with.
We do.
Yeah.
And he believes that all fear stems from a lack of understanding of where love originates.
Okay.
For example, he talked about the fear of a loved one dying.
Right.
He said that fear isn't really about death itself,
Okay.
but the potential loss of someone we love.
So it's not the event itself, but the potential loss of something we cherish. That's a profound shift in perspective.
It is.
Yeah.
And by understanding this, he says we can reframe our fears
Right.
and work towards detaching from them.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about suppressing fear,
Right.
but about understanding its source and loosening its grip on us.
He also shared some practical tools for spiritual growth
He did.
that anyone can incorporate into their lives, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He emphasized meditation as a cornerstone,
Okay.
but stressed the importance of flexibility,
Right.
finding what works best for the individual.
Yeah, there's no one-size-fits-all approach to connecting with the divine.
Exactly.
And then, of course, there's his personal mantra.
Yes, his mantra.
Tell us about that.
Okay, his mantra is, I am not this body, I am not this mind. I am the universe, I am loving compassion.
Wow.
Repeating this, he says, helps shift your perspective, recognizing the impermanence of thoughts, feelings, and even the physical body.
Yeah, it's like a reminder that we're part of something so much bigger than our limited selves.
Precisely.
Right.
And this connects beautifully to Baba's Feed Project,
Okay.
which embodies the principles of selfless service, remembering God by feeding everyone.
He talked about the 4 major rules of Neem Karoli Baba.
Yes.
Love everyone, serve everyone, tell the truth, and remember God.
Yes, and the project seems like a very practical way to put those rules into action.
It does.
It absolutely is. Baba's Feed Project provides food, education, and clothing to families in need in northern India.
Wow.
It's about recognizing the inherent divinity in every human being and extending a helping hand.
Baba Ganga Das acts as an ambassador for the project.
He does.
And he said it allows him to lose his sense of self and truly serve others.
This is the essence of karma yoga.
Okay.
Selfless action without attachment to the results.
Mm-hmm.
It's dedicating your efforts to something larger than yourself,
Right.
which can bring a deep sense of fulfillment and connection.
It's incredible how his life has come full circle, wouldn't you say?
It really is.
From this troubled past to a life dedicated to helping others.
It's a testament to the transformative power of grace, surrender, and service.
Yeah, his story is very inspiring.
It is.
And, he works with this organization called Just Love Forest,
Oh, yes.
which I'd love to hear more about.
It's a wonderful place. Just Love Forest is a 716-acre mountain retreat
Wow.
outside of Atlanta, Georgia, owned and run by a Neem Karoli Baba devotee.
Oh,
That's this beautiful oasis.
That sounds amazing.
But what's truly remarkable is its inclusivity.
Oh, wow.
Baba Ganga Das goes there as a Hindu monk, but there are people from all walks of life and all different spiritual backgrounds who gather there.
Really?
Wiccans, people who identify as non-denominational, you name it.
That's so cool.
It's a place where people can connect with nature and explore their own unique spirituality.
It sounds like the perfect place to disconnect from the everyday noise and reconnect with yourself.
It is.
Yeah, I need to check that out.
You should.
Yeah.
And before we move on, I just wanted to mention that Baba Ganga Das encourages anyone who wants to connect with him to reach out through his Facebook page, Baba Ganga Das, with 2 S's at the end,
Okay.
or his TikTok, which is under the same name.
Perfect.
He welcomes messages and is always willing to help in any way he can.
That's really great to know. This has been a truly enlightening deep dive into his life and philosophy.
It has.
From his unconventional path to becoming a sadhu,
Yeah.
to his insights on fear, love, and service. There's so much wisdom to unpack. What stood out to you the most?
I think what's most compelling is his emphasis on self-discovery.
Okay.
He doesn't force his beliefs on others, but he guides them to find their own truths.
Mm-hmm.
It's a powerful reminder that we all have the capacity for inner transformation.
Absolutely.
And sometimes all it takes is a safe space and a listening ear.
And his story is a reminder that there are many paths to spiritual awakening, and that it's never too late to embark on your own journey of self-discovery. Now, I know we touched on his mantra earlier, but I'd love to explore that a bit further.
Sure.
His mantra, I am not this body. I am not this mind. I am the universe. I am loving compassion.
It's a powerful one.
Yeah.
It's a powerful tool.
It's a beautiful reminder that we're all a part of something much vaster and more interconnected.
We are.
But how does he actually use this mantra in his daily life?
Oh, that's a great question.
Yeah, does he just sit and repeat it for hours?
He actually starts and ends each day with meditation,
Okay.
incorporating the mantra into his practice.
Good.
What's interesting is he has a very flexible approach.
Okay.
Sometimes he meditates with his eyes closed, sometimes open, sometimes sitting, sometimes lying down.
Wow.
It's all about finding what resonates with you
Right.
and allows for the deepest connection.
That's refreshing to hear.
Yeah.
It takes the pressure off having to meditate perfectly.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
the intention and the connection that matters, not the form. He even admitted that, sometimes the mantra doesn't hit him the way he hopes.
Yeah.
But other times it leads to these profound insights.
Right.
It's a process, not a destination.
It's a good reminder that even experienced practitioners have those days where meditation feels like a struggle.
We're all human.
Yeah.
And being kind to ourselves in those moments is essential.
We've covered a lot of ground.
We have.
His journey, his insights on fear and love,
Yeah.
his daily practices, his work with Baba's Feed Project.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else about his perspective that you find particularly insightful?
What I find fascinating is his ability to navigate these complex spiritual concepts
Yeah.
while remaining grounded and relatable. He doesn't get lost in esoteric language or lofty ideas.
He uses simple analogies like comparing spiritual understanding to learning math.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
He said pushing complex spiritual beliefs onto someone who isn't ready can be like trying to explain division to someone who only knows addition.
Right. It creates confusion rather than understanding.
Exactly.
So it's about meeting people where they are and respecting their individual journeys.
Yes, and that includes recognizing when someone simply needs a safe space
Right.
to process their thoughts and emotions
Yeah.
without being bombarded with advice or philosophical interpretations.
He really emphasized allowing people to find their own answers by creating that space for them,
Mm-hmm.
by just listening with an open heart.
Yes, and I think that's something we can all learn from,
Yeah.
regardless of our spiritual beliefs.
Right.
Sometimes the most powerful thing we can do is just hold space for someone,
Yeah.
allowing them to find their own way.
It's about being present, compassionate, and non-judgmental.
Absolutely.
It's a reminder that true service often involves stepping back and letting others shine.
And Ganga Das embodies this beautifully.
He does.
In every aspect of his life, from his interactions with those seeking guidance to his dedication to serving those in need through Baba's Feed Project.
He's a true inspiration, showing us that a life dedicated to service and spiritual growth can be both profound and deeply fulfilling.
And it all begins with that inner transformation.
Right.
Recognizing that we are not just these limited bodies and minds, but part of something much larger and more interconnected.
So as we move towards wrapping up this part of our deep dive, what's the key takeaway you hope our listener will ponder?
I think Baba Ganga Das's mantra is a wonderful starting point.
Okay.
I am not this body. I am not this mind. I am the universe. I am loving compassion. I encourage you to contemplate this mantra, explore how it resonates with you, and see how it might shift your perspective on yourself and the world around you.
It's like an invitation to tap into that boundless well of love and compassion that's within each of us.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And by embracing this expanded sense of self, we can move through the world with more kindness, understanding, and purpose. He really emphasizes recognizing that divine spark
Right.
within ourselves and everyone we encounter.
Earlier we talked about his time in the Marines and how that experience of surrender in combat parallels the surrender in a sadhu's life.
Right.
Could you unpack that comparison a bit more?
Absolutely. So in combat, a soldier has to trust their superiors, follow orders,
Right.
and relinquish control, knowing that the situation is far bigger than their individual self.
Yeah.
It's a surrender to a greater cause.
I see where you're going with this.
Right. And in the same way, a sadhu surrenders to a higher power,
Okay.
dedicating themselves to the needs of others,
Yeah.
letting go of personal desires,
Yeah.
embracing a life of service.
It's about recognizing that we are all part of an interconnected web.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, circling back to Baba's Feed Project,
Yes.
there's a deeper philosophical concept at play here called karma yoga.
Oh, yeah. I was hoping we could explore that a little more.
Okay.
Yeah.
Karma yoga is all about selfless action
Okay.
without attachment to the results.
Mhm.
It's the embodiment of that surrender that we were just talking about. It's about offering your efforts to something larger than yourself.
Right.
And Baba Ganga Das demonstrates this beautifully through his work with the project.
So it's not just about giving back, but about the intention and the detachment behind the action.
It is.
That's pretty profound.
It is. When you act with that spirit of selfless service, you tap into a deeper sense of purpose and connection. You're no longer driven by ego or personal gain,
Right.
but by a desire to contribute to the well-being of others.
That makes a lot of sense. It's about shifting from what's in it for me
Yeah.
to how can I serve.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Baba Ganga Das is a testament to the transformative power of this approach.
Right.
His story is a reminder that true fulfillment comes from aligning ourselves with something larger than ourselves.
Yeah.
Whether it's through service spiritual practice or simply recognizing our interconnectedness with all beings.
This deep dive has honestly been so insightful.
It has.
There's so much to learn from his unconventional journey and the wisdom he
He's
shared.
got a lot to share.
Yeah. You know, earlier you mentioned how he's able to explain these complex spiritual concepts
Yes.
in a way that's really relatable and down to earth.
Right.
What's his secret?
He has a knack for using simple analogies that make these concepts accessible to anyone, regardless of their background.
Mhm.
For example, he compared spiritual understanding to learning math.
I remember that. I love that analogy.
He said trying to force complex spiritual beliefs onto someone who isn't ready is like trying to teach division to someone who only knows addition.
It just creates confusion, right?
Exactly.
They don't have the foundation to understand it yet.
They don't.
And it's the same with spiritual concepts.
It is.
Meeting people where they are on their journey is essential.
Yeah.
Some might be ready for deeper teachings, while others simply need a safe space to process their emotions and experiences without being bombarded with interpretations or advice.
Absolutely.
He stressed that just listening with an open heart can be incredibly powerful.
It can.
It allows people to find their own answers.
Sometimes that's the greatest service we can offer.
Yeah.
Creating that space for someone to discover their own truth.
Right.
It's about being present, compassionate, and non-judgmental.
Mm-hmm.
Recognizing that each individual has their own unique path to walk.
He truly embodies that approach in all aspects of his life, doesn't he?
He does.
Yeah.
Whether he's guiding someone through a spiritual dilemma or serving those in need through the Baba's Feed project,
Right.
there's a consistent thread of compassion, understanding, and selflessness
That shines through.
that shines through.
Baba Ganga Das is a shining example of how a life dedicated to service and spiritual growth can be both profoundly meaningful and deeply fulfilling.
I think so.
Now, as we wrap up this segment, I'm curious, what would you say is the most potent piece of wisdom you've gleaned from diving into his work?
It's hard to choose just one, but his reminder that we are not simply these limited bodies and minds, but part of something much vaster and more interconnected.
Yeah.
That has really resonated with me.
Yeah.
It's a message that speaks to the very core of our being.
Yeah.
And it opens up a world of possibility.
That's beautiful.
It is.
It invites us to step outside our perceived limitations.
Yeah.
And embrace a more expansive view of ourselves and the world.
It does, and it's a perspective that can truly transform how we approach life relationships and our understanding of the universe. It does, and it's a perspective that can truly transform how we approach life relationships and our understanding of the universe.
It really does make you wonder, doesn't it? If we can shift our perspective to see ourselves as part of this interconnected web, how might that change our actions, our interactions, our entire approach to life?
That's a powerful question to consider, and I think Baba Ganga Das offers us a practical tool for cultivating that expanded perspective through his mantra,
Right.
I am not this body,
Right.
I am not this mind, I am the universe, I am loving compassion.
You know, we've talked about the mantra a few times now, but I'm curious, how does he suggest incorporating it into our daily lives?
He emphasizes the power of repetition and contemplation. He starts and ends each day by meditating on this mantra,
Okay.
allowing it to permeate his thoughts and actions. It's about consciously shifting from that limited sense of self to a more expansive awareness of our interconnectedness with everything around us.
So it's not just about reciting the words, but about truly embodying that sense of being part of something larger than ourselves.
Exactly. And it's a practice that takes time, patience, and a willingness to let go of those old ingrained patterns of thinking.
It's like training our minds to see the world through a new lens, a lens of compassion, interconnectedness, and love.
It is, and as we cultivate this perspective, we naturally begin to act with more kindness, understanding, and generosity.
You know, after hearing about his journey and listening to the insights, I can't help but feel incredibly inspired. It's a testament to the transformative power of service, surrender, and self-discovery.
It really is, and I think his story offers a powerful message of hope for anyone who's searching for meaning and purpose in their own lives. It reminds us that no matter where we come from, no matter what challenges we faced, we all have the capacity for profound growth and transformation.
Absolutely. And it doesn't require grand gestures or complicated rituals.
No, it doesn't.
It can be as simple as offering a helping hand listening with an open heart, or taking a few moments each day to connect with that inner stillness through meditation.
It's about bringing that awareness of the universe, that loving compassion into every aspect of our lives.
Right.
It's about recognizing the divine spark, not only within ourselves, but in every being we encounter.
It's a beautiful way to live, and Baba Ganga Das shows us that it's a path available to each and every one of us.
He does.
It really does make you think, huh? If we can all just kind of shift our perspective to see ourselves as part of this interconnected web, how might that change our actions, our interactions, our entire approach to life?
That's a powerful question to consider, and I think Baba Ganga Das offers us a very practical tool
Okay.
for cultivating that expanded perspective
Mm-hmm.
through his mantra. I am not this body. I am not this mind. I am the universe. I am living compassion.
We've talked about the mantra a bit,
Yeah.
but I'm curious, how does he suggest incorporating it into our daily lives?
He emphasizes the power of repetition and contemplation.
Okay.
He starts and ends each day by meditating on this mantra,
Okay.
allowing it to really permeate his thoughts and actions.
Mm-hmm.
It's about consciously shifting from that limited sense of self
Right.
to a more expansive awareness of our interconnectedness with everything around us.
So it's not just about reciting the words,
Yeah,
but about truly embodying that sense of being part of something much larger than ourselves.
exactly. And it's a practice
Yeah.
that takes time and patience and a willingness to let go of those old ingrained patterns of thinking.
It's like retraining our minds to see the world through a new lens,
It is.
a lens of compassion, interconnectedness, and love.
It is. And as we cultivate this perspective, we naturally begin to act with more kindness, understanding, and generosity.
It's amazing. After hearing about his journey and listening to his insights, I can't help but feel really inspired.
I know, me too.
It's a testament to the transformative power of service and surrender and self-discovery.
It really is. And I think his story offers a really powerful message of hope
Mm-hmm.
for anyone who is searching for meaning and purpose in their own lives.
Yeah.
It reminds us that no matter where we come from, no matter what challenges we face,
Right.
we all have that capacity
Yeah,
for profound growth and transformation.
absolutely. And it doesn't require grand gestures or complicated rituals.
It doesn't.
It can be as simple as offering a helping hand listening with an open heart, or
Mhm.
taking a few moments each day to connect with that inner stillness through meditation.
It's about bringing that awareness of the universe, that loving compassion into every aspect of our lives. It's
Mhm.
about recognizing the divine spark,
Right.
not only within ourselves, but in every being we encounter.
It's beautiful, and Baba Ganga Das shows us that it's a path available to all of us.
He does, as we
Mhm.
wrap up this deep dive. Yeah.
Into the life and philosophy of Baba Ganga Das.
I want to leave you with one final thought.
Okay.
If he used a man who faced incredible hardship and darkness could find such profound peace and purpose, what's possible for you?
That's a good question.
What might you discover
Yeah.
if you embrace the principles of surrender, service, and self-discovery?
Yeah, it's a question worth pondering as we continue on our own unique journeys.
It is.
And with that, we'll leave you to do your own deep dive.
Yes.
Thanks for joining us today.